Welcome everyone to Working Group Apply. We are October 29th, 2019. We have a few new people today joining from the API machinery group. I suggest we keep the same structure as usual, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about things we want to talk about anyways. Let's get started. So what we do is we usually go through the umbrella issue to see what's going on. We all have an entry with the things we're doing, and we do a sort of status of what's going on, and we discuss issues if needed. So scalability, I'm still working on improving the performance. I've had discussions with Daniel. We tried a few things. I'm not sure where we're going right now, but we could talk about that. Do you want to talk about that?
Let's see what else is on the docket before we deep dive into something.
Yeah. Jenny, are you here, Jenny? I don't think I've seen Jenny here. Yeah, Jenny's missing. We're not going to talk about the size.
I know the KEP is out, or the KEP adjustment PR is out. It's had a couple comments on it.
We're hoping David or maybe Clayton would
yeah, I can more aggressively ping them.
David is sick.
Is he?
Yeah, that's what Stefan said.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, I can aggressively ping Clayton.
Next victim. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Declarative manager, Kevin.
Yeah, I saw your comment earlier today. I'm not sure if I like the annotation thing because it feels like a step back, but I get the point. I don't really know what to do with Daniel's comment.
Yeah, I saw that comment too, and I didn't understand it at all because they're not imperative. They are options. They're facts about they're meta facts about the application of the object. And even if they were imperative, putting them in an annotation doesn't make that better.
No, what I feel is the option world means, it feels like the option world means put this into the option, and it's not very clear what option it's going to be. And
so the point of the clause, and we can figure out a better name maybe naming is always hard. The point of having the separate clause was to make it clear to users that they're write only.
Yeah, no, that's not done very nicely then. I don't feel like options specifically.
Yeah, options might be.
I actually proposed write only options at one point, but it was too long for people or something like that.
I think we also discussed apply behavior.
Oh yeah,
I mentioned it maybe.
Okay. That doesn't. It goes back to, are we going to have other options like these?
Yeah,
I'm hoping not.
The thing that's holding up that PR for me is Jordan's comment about like what happens if we add an option that is got destructive implications if it's ignored. How do we make that backwards safe?
Yeah, like Trevor, for example.
Where does the problem come from that you would have to have two releases if you add a new field? You mentioned in your comment, and I'm not sure why that's this way or why that's a problem.
I mean, I think we kind of have the problem with the existing field. If we add that and the user sends an object with that field set to an API server that doesn't understand the field, API server will, instead of telling them that it doesn't understand the field, it will ignore it, which is the behavior that's desired.
Isn't this true about most fields in the API anyway?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's a good thing.
Yeah, for some fields that is okay. To be clear, we have this behavior just because it's the default of the Go JSON on Marshaller. So, so I'm not really sure what to do about that. Options include like, we could say like, yeah, that's a problem. You have to have the field in and understood and rejected, and then wait a release, and then in and understood and accepted to give at least one release of backwards safeness. Another option is somehow adjust the Go unmarshaller or write a custom JSON deserializer just for that clause, so that if it finds something unexpected, it actually causes an error. We haven't tried that anywhere else, so it would be inventing something, but I mean, I'm okay with inventing something.
The behavior itself would be comparable to namespace, or is the namespace defaulting happening somewhere else? Because if you don't set the namespace in the YAML, but as a query parameter, it's getting used. But if you don't set it at all, I think it's defaulted to kube default. Is it something else?
I don't think you can post a namespace resource without including a namespace in the path.
Yeah, you need it in the path.
And also, namespace
okay.
is not an analogous field because all versions of API server understand the field. The problem is when the problem happens when the type when API servers disagree about the type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we shouldn't spend. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I mean, we want to see. It says schedule a meeting because we wanted to fix this issue. Okay. I think what I don't like is that option is like inviting for like more options. So it's like a grab bag. I feel like people are gonna want to put stuff in there, which doesn't help. Maybe we can find a better name, which is more restrictive than options.
Another here's yet another option. Instead of having it be a struct, make it a map with well-known field values, and that way if something other than what we see shows up, we can reject it.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest.
That might be even easier.
Yeah.
That would also leave it somewhat unstructured. I don't know. Something, if we think all options can be expressed as a string, map string, then maybe that's okay, but I don't know.
I don't know if there are options, but sure.
all like attributes.
Yeah.
Write once attributes. I'm not sure. Write only.
Yeah. Okay. Does that help, Kevin?
It helps that I understand the problem, but I'm not sure what to do with it.
I think the next the next step for this KEP is include the problem in the body of the text somewhere. Pick one of these options, or decide which of these options is best or most defensible, and include that as the one, and mention the others as alternatives. And think about the name more, I guess. If you can't come up with a better one, I think I'm okay with the existing name.
Yeah. I wouldn't block it on the name.
Yeah.
You mentioned raw message as a way. Are they?
Yeah, but it's because of the map string to string, right?
Yeah, you could use raw message, or you could use basically custom deserialization. There's, I guess, a few ways you could do that, but that's an option. But if you just do like map string as the options, then you don't have that. You don't have to do anything.
Okay, good. I'm gonna move to the topic from Maria before we move on to anything else.
Hello. So this is the issue on calling the scale subresource and making sure that whoever calls it claims ownership, complete ownership of the managed field. So Hannes and I picked it up. And where we're at the moment is that we have a pretty hacky implementation that is still within storage.go for the specific main resources. So we started already with replica set. That sort of works. So that removes every other field managers just before it returns an updated object. What we started exploring earlier today is Jenny's idea, which was adding a new field manager that only knows how to manage the scale managed field, spectred replicas rather. So we have a very early implementation of that. Where we're kind of stuck at the moment is more wiring related, if that makes sense. So we're not quite sure how that new field manager will be called, essentially, how the update and apply methods on it will be called.
Yeah.
That's what we're sort of working on at the moment.
And yeah, go for it.
Did we decide not, when I looked at that issue, which has been a while, so maybe things have changed, but when I looked at it, it looked like the code didn't call, so what I kind of expected is like it gets a deployment, makes the one change, and then sends it through the regular deployment update path after doing that, but the code didn't seem to do that at all. Did we consider fixing that, or do we understand why we don't want to fix it? So that, and yeah, it's wiring.
We could well be talking about the same thing. I'm not sure. So this sounds like the intended way to me. I'm not 100% sure on how to implement it. So we started defining the field manager. We're clear on sort of what exact logic needs to happen there. What we're not clear on 100% is how, once we have a new field manager, once we've, it sounds like there's a spot where we say essentially when you're dealing with a sub-resource, make sure that this field manager gets called. But that sort of flow is not 100% clear.
I think I'm talking about something even more
Okay.
drastic than that, which is like making the sub-resource handler actually do a get of the object, adjust it as instructed, and then call the regular resource handler update handler to perform the.
Yeah, I feel
Okay.
be a breaking change, because today we call the admission webhooks and stuff on the scale sub-resource, not on the deployment.
But you can pass through the authorizers or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, what webhooks do we want to call is the question.
Oh, the webhooks.
Yeah. Because right today we're only calling the webhooks that are set on the scale sub-resource, not on the actual deployment sub-resource, which I think is completely wrong.
That's a mistake.
Yeah.
Sounds like a mistake, yeah.
That's disastrous.
Yeah, I know, because if you have like a thing that says the replica set shouldn't be set to more than 100, if you do a scale 1000, that's going to work.
And we don't call the ones on the regular resource?
No, because we take a different route.
Okay, so
this is the plan we have, right?
So that sounds like another reason to do it the way I suggested, which is that this behavior is broken. Now, whenever we have something that is broken, it is difficult to roll it out without breaking clients who rely on
that's the thing.
But modulo that does not sound like the behavior. Like if I want a webhook that observes all changes to deployments, I do not expect that I also have to hook to the scale sub-resource.
But changing that is complicated.
Yes.
The stack is like admission first and then the registry.
Yes. Do you agree that you wouldn't expect
I would be surprised to get a scale object as an admission webhook author.
Yeah, I guess I would. Well, my preference would be that we didn't permit you to have webhooks on the sub-resources, but I guess we didn't think of this. Barring that, I guess I would expect both sets of webhooks to get called. The scale, if you register for scale, you should get called with the scale sub-resource. If you register for deployment, you should get called with the deployment resource.
So literally, you would want to call both admission chains.
That's with all the 5 seconds that I've thought about this. Yeah, that's what I think, but I reserve the right to change my mind later.
I love it. Okay, so that's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know this made your life harder.
Maybe, maybe not, because if we do it this way, then we don't have a plan for updating the management.
You don't have to manufacture a new field manager or anything like that.
Okay.
The thing I've replaced this with is harder than the original thing, but it's not a net improvement. But
why don't we talk about these specifically, or like more broadly in the community? I think we want people's opinion on that.
Yeah, maybe we can take this to machine learning.
Maria, do you want to take note of these?
Yes, I'm happy to. I might need some help with the specifics and what exactly, like what exact changes in practice would that mean to what spaces in the code base? Because I'm not
Yeah,
too
can you ping
comfortable
me
with
on
that.
Slack?
Yes, yeah, we'll do.
I'll make sure this shows up on the next API machinery meeting.
That's next week, right? Or is it
Yeah,
sometime
that's
this week?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, we've made progress on that. Let's move on to the status wiping.
Yeah, I think I have to talk to Jenny again because over the last discussion, I'm not sure anymore what a better way is to do this because Jenny meant the way I suggested wouldn't work, and we were all surprised. I'm not sure if I understand how the handlers and the sub resources belong together, and obviously it's a problem.
Yeah. I don't remember talking about this issue recently, but I remember that we had a pretty clear idea how to do that. Maybe I should look into more details to understand where you're stuck specifically. Can you send me links maybe?
We had two messages, one from me and one from Jenny in the chat, and you and Jenny meant we probably cannot do it in schema.
Yeah.
Because sub resources don't have a group version kind, and that's all I understand. So, and the handlers cannot know.
Okay, let's look at it, and we'll try and get you unblocked on that because that's that. Then we have documentations. I'm working on the cap. We fixed the map type and the sock type, thanks to Stefan. And now I'm working on introducing that into KubeBuilder, and I'm trying to fix the documentation. Let's move on to immutability. Stefan, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so I linked I put the link into the chat before. I went through all the cases with list type and map type and how immutability applies to them with Jordan last week, and I updated it in the enhancement. There's a work in progress PR, that one.
Oh yeah.
I tried to condense that compared to the document we had originally, but still, they're all cases. I mean, it's just lots of examples. The semantics did not change much, so we changed the names of the markers. So we don't have a Boolean anymore, but we have something like immutable, add only, remove only. And the semantics is pretty straightforward now. We can discuss whether remove only makes sense in certain cases, but it extends cleanly to remove only and add only. That was our intention. If you go down, the overlap, which was documented before and which is here, is unchanged. So we didn't change the real core semantics. We just fleshed out all cases.
I have a question. Is it possible to move forward without the add only and remove only?
Yes and no. One big change is at the very bottom. We cannot go to beta directly. We have to go through alpha because we have to downgrade or survive downgrades and round trips. But this also means everything we add now, you have to handle, or if things we don't implement now, we have to handle on a downgrade in the next version. So yeah, with the string now, with the enum, maybe we can leave them out. But I'm not convinced that we should. So our impression is that the semantics we describe here extends pretty naturally.
That feels a little complicated to me. I'm slightly afraid that we're going to increase the number of knobs on the Open API, and it's going to end up like a plain cockpit.
Open API is already that way.
Well, it is. We're not making it better, and eventually you're going to need a pilot license to try this thing. So,
yeah.
And even then, you're probably going to have trouble.
Yeah, don't they already have?
We need
maybe. So I'm not. I don't have such a strong opinion here. I could live with leaving it out. but I would prefer to just take a look at the semantics we described before. So if we don't add that, adding it later is possible, but it requires iterations through the versions, alpha, beta, and so on. So it's a long way if we don't do it directly.
Did we come up with a use case for remove only?
Something like leases, maybe, if you put up leases with a controller, like IP ranges, if you want to distribute IPs. And you can only take a range from that, but never add one, only when the whole set of ranges is removed, something like that. So there are cases. Maybe they're a bit artificial. I'm not sure we have them in practice.
Yeah, we don't. Nobody has implemented this in code, as in a validating piece of code.
Yeah, so add only exists for sure. Add only we have at a couple of places.
Like
I think Jordan commented in the original PR.
Ephemeral containers is the best example.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I read through. I haven't read the latest changes, but I read through the original, and I kind of reluctantly accept that there is a difference between key and item mutability. But I still don't like the name key mutability. I think it's not very intuitive what it actually means. So I don't know.
Do you have a better term? We are open for that.
Yeah, if I think of one, you'll be the first to know. I don't know if people are gonna like. I think people are gonna have to come read this KEP to understand what key mutability means and why they may or may not want it. So I'm not sure if that can be improved or not. Do other type systems have this distinction? Like
is there a type system which has immutability?
I mean, yeah, C++ has const.
It has const, but const makes everything constant.
But they have that. They have const.
But you don't have const, but also you can add things too. Like they don't have that. That's not
true. Yeah.
Depend only. Right?
Then the data structure is different usually. It's not the same.
There's no type system for.
But you can move the const at different places.
Right.
Different semantics.
Move the const different places, but like there's no way to express. I can add an item to this list, but I can't change existing items in this list. There's no way to express that in C++.
Change the list, but not change the item.
You can't.
This exists. Yeah, you can have a const list of non-constants.
Can you have a const vector of non-const object? But then you can mutate the objects, but not the.
That's so simple.
No, but we make it even harder because we've got this key item in the list, or these key fields in the list item.
That's what we fleshed out. Yeah.
As somebody who hasn't read the KEP, do I understand it correctly that key mutability means the mutability of the object in the list based on its key?
No. Key immutability basically means you look at the set of keys, and this is immutable.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you for illustrating the confusion.
So if you have an array, it's a set of indexes, the length basically.
And you can't, if it's immutable, you can't add one, and if it's add only, you can add one. Okay, but you can't mutate the objects inside.
Yeah, if it's just key immutability, you can change the objects.
Okay.
If you use the immutability on the object itself, on the values, you cannot change them either.
Then to me would be list mutability and value.
It's not only lists. We have lists. We have maps.
Yeah, right. Container mutability. I don't know. Okay, yeah, I see the problem now.
He's not that bad.
Yeah, my main hope, Stefan, saying that we should take this up here is that I want CRDs and apply to be on a convergence course for like how we're thinking about schemas and.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the main point.
And this list type and map type is the first overlap, which is explicit and clear.
Yeah. I think it looks like we're just about out of time. At some point, I want to talk about the proto or what was in the proto section, the normalization
Oh,
step. Yeah, but that is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. I think we're
Structure
done.
mutability.
I'm sorry, Kevin?
Structure mutability.
Yeah, structure.
Oh, that's not bad.
I thought of like list mutability, set mutability, yeah, I'll keep thinking. Maybe I can think of something.
Cool. Okay, thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.